What is epistemology? Because there's a full article discussing the origins and development of epistemology over time, I'm going to take my working definition from Wikipedia. Wikipedia defines epistemology as the nature of knowledge, justification, and the rationality of belief. Epistemology considers what is knowable and how can it be known. Are there alternate universes? And can we know this for sure? Can it be verified? Is a belief justifiable truth that can be known? Is a seance a valid and verifiable source of truth and knowledge? If so, why have so many seances been involved in so many confidence scams? More importantly, how was somebody's mind deceived into believing its proceedings to be valid? Epistemology is the antidote for information operations in psychological warfare. While the objective of an information operation may be truthful and legitimate, such as convincing an enemy population that their government has genuinely deceived them, generally speaking, information operations and psychological warfare intend to deceive the targets of their operations. While the word epistemology is not widely used, it should not be thought of as strange or unusual. Epistemology is used every day in U.S. courtrooms. It is the purpose of a court to establish the truth of past or current events as best can be known. This is epistemology in use. Because an individual's life or liberty is in jeopardy, it is critical to establish the testimony and evidence to be from sources that are justifiably reliable and true. Since the passing of the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, it is no longer illegal for the U.S. government to produce misleading and deceiving propaganda and to distribute it to U.S. media targeting U.S. citizens. In fact, it is now required that media companies cooperate in the dissemination of the propaganda. Because the U.S. is officially a representative government, it is critical that citizens understand the government they elected intentionally attempts to control those who elected them through propaganda, information operations, and psychology. For this reason, anyone not wanting to be deceived by their own government should screen what they accept as truth as well as a court does. The majority of the laws regarding allowable evidence in U.S. courts is contained in a 3-volume set, A Treatise on the Law of Evidence by Simon Greenleaf, former Royal Professor of Law at Harvard. Remember, your government has made it legal to mislead and deceive its own citizens. The art of information operations has been thoroughly refined and is established upon extensive research of the human mind and reasoning. They understand what information sources the general public regards as true and reliable, and why. Many of the people producing the propaganda are as well trained in psychological warfare as those who attend the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School. In fact, some have actually attended. For example, DARPA-funded research that actually monitored and recorded brain activity to understand how the narrative of a story was processed by the human brain. Of course, the largest factor in how information is accepted by someone is based on how that person developed their own learning processes. That is, how they conditioned to accept information and allowed it to be part of their learning process. While the human brain is diverse, with some primary learning through audio, sight, or reading, the diversity can be categorized and analyzed. Because the number of media companies have been reduced from nearly 500 in 1980 to just 6, it is now much easier to control and coordinate the dissemination of propaganda. The consequences of current propaganda might not seem very important, but how drastically might that change if a natural or man-made disaster threatens starvation through famine? Most people who believe their life is in danger are willing to kill based on their beliefs about what is threatening them, whether founded on fact or not. Understanding of human behavior is based on decades of live research. It is the purpose of basic training in the military to psychologically break down an individual and then build them back up for the purpose of killing. It is not my intention to characterize military basic training as evil or unneeded, but to question how it is done. Providing for the common defense is a primary responsibility of the federal government. A better question is, what is the best way to defend America? I personally do not believe that joining the cohort of the willing to establish the rule of law by force in an offensive manner using global elements of power will establish peace and justice in an endurable fashion. I do not believe using extreme psychological pressure is a sustainable solution to world problems. If my comments on the rule of law, extreme psychological pressure, and a reference to Room 101 from the film 1984 are not clear, they will be if you continue watching this channel. Information operations play a key role in the efforts to establish global control as war technologies advance around the globe. The brinksmanship in world affairs continues to escalate. There are powerful people willing to risk billions of lives in the process of establishing global power. As you consider how important knowing the truth about world events are to you, I would like to conclude with two recommendations, both concerning the nature of man. The first is a book by Andrew Smookler entitled The Parable of the Tribes, which discusses the spread of war and its technologies. The second is a YouTube video titled What Really Happened on Easter Island. The video comes to the conclusions that tribes fighting over dominance and control were willing to environmentally destroy the island to the point of causing a complete collapse of sustainable life. Understanding information operations and psychological warfare could mean the difference between the ability to make wise decisions versus being swept away with the crowd in collectivism driven by the psychological fears of the masses.